Thank you for being here. It feels like a very important day in the life of this book, but it's only just the beginning, I'm guessing. And thank you, everybody, for being here with me. I am that kind of an independent woman who's also moderating the panel while talking about my book. So there were a few slides that I wanted to share just so that we are all on the same page about the book. But I needed some tech support there. Can somebody please display the slides that were sent? Okay, now we have this, but I don't have a clicker. Okay, so this is a book that took me 3 years, traveling through 30 cities of India, meeting 300 women, and traveling thousands and thousands of kilometers to write this one book. And why? Just please, can you please change the slide? I thought I had control over it, but... So these are the cities that I went to. So please, if you belong to any of these cities, or if you know people in any of these cities, please make sure you talk about the book. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the basic things. So these are the cities that I went to. Why did I do this? I did this because I wanted to go beyond the obvious. I've been a part of, like many of us, I think all of us here and all of us in the audience, I've been a part of India's growth story from various vantage points. And I wanted to understand what do these 3 decades of growth mean beyond the places which are obvious to us, where we always put our sight. It's very clear to us that more women have more education, ambition, and what's very interesting now is more women have inheritance. But what are they doing with it? I wanted to understand, we all talk about the improved infrastructure. The road from Jaipur to Delhi that we drove on a couple of days back is outstanding. But what is happening with that physical infrastructure? What kind of change is it leading to? A very interesting fact that I was trying to understand is that men migrate for work and women migrate for marriage. It's the statistic. 87% of women who move cities do it because they get married. So I wanted to understand in this process, who's building wealth and who's building culture. I'm not saying that men are building wealth and women are building culture. You'll have to read the book to find out the answer. It's not a straight up answer. And I really wanted to understand, does culture matter? All of us go to Europe to walk the pavements and use public transport and sit in a cafe and have a coffee. Does it matter to the growth of cities, to the growth of a country, to the growth of an economy? These were the questions that I wanted to answer in this book. And how did I do it? I did it because I realized that until I actually saw, I wasn't going to be able to understand. So I actually traveled and I met these people. I am not going to go through these examples. There are women in the audience. Archana is there, and I don't know if anybody else has come, but there are women from Jaipur in the book. Jaipur is a chapter. There you are. And we talk about, what kind of efforts these women are leading, both in commerce and in culture. So very interesting examples. There are women making, I really love this lady who's making kombucha. She's a traditional tea brewer, and she's bringing that tribal form of brewing to making kombucha in Darjeeling, and very interesting examples. So I met them, I talked to them, I had fun, more importantly. But so does that mean that things have changed and we have another great story to write? No, that's an unequivocal conclusion. And why? Why is it? Yesterday, Gurcharan Das was asking me when I was talking to him that why is it that female workforce participation in India is so poor? And I told him if he really wanted that answer, he would have to spend a couple of hours with me because the answer is not so simple. But one thing that I can say is that women more and more are allowed to grow, but they are allowed to, but then they're chopped very beautifully and very severely after that. So they're like bonsai plants. And bonsais don't come back and tell you that we are not happy. They become happy. They're pretty and very nicely sitting in your drawing room, but they don't become trees, they don't bear fruits. So for me, that example is for the economy, where we are allowing these very beautiful decorative pieces, well-educated, very aesthetic, very well understanding, but they are decorative pieces more or less sometimes. And in my book, you'll find examples of the ones who are not, who grew beyond that, who actually bore fruit, who actually became productive, who actually started contributing to the society, to the economy also, as much as being pretty and helpful. Helpful is the operative word. And the funny thing was that you see poor women, and Chetna will talk about that, and you see that they have a little bit of agency and independence, but the rich women who have access to wealth, they have it for consumption and decoration, but typically not for decision and independence. Is it changing? Yes, it is changing. You'll have to read the book to find out. I'm not giving you all the answers right now. And so this last thing that I wanted to talk about is, we are, and how does this phenomenon work? What is that pruning mechanism? And that is saying, kya zarurat hai? You already have a family, you already are living in a nice house, you already have money, kya zarurat hai? Why do you want to do this? And the second one is even more interesting, which is kuch to kar rahi hai. You set really low expectations. I mean, you're a woman, you stand up and you get a prize. You have more awards thrown at you than capital, for sure. So, it's a sort of a warped story. So those were the answers I was looking for. I met many people. I found whatever answers I could. It's in the book. Why does it matter? Not because of women empowerment. I hate that term in any case. And why it matters is because diversified growth will be good for the country. We are in a place where we need to think better about what the next 30 years of growth will be for this country, which will build upon this generational wealth and equity that we have created. I'm sorry I'm talking fast, but that's because the next event is already on the offer. So where I would like to see this is, is there a trend that says go home and go big? Because we talk about technology enabling work from home, we talk about greater wealth in these cities, we talk about improved infrastructure, we talk about reducing speed of things. So will it allow people to go home and go big rather than leaving their homes and what we were taught, which was to go big or go home, the dichotomy in which if you left your home, you were destined for success, but if you were home, then you were a loser, essentially. So that's the paradigm that I've tried to understand and address in this book, and that's about where I'm going to stop. I have taken the privilege of being the moderator by talking too much already. And I'm going to hand over the mic I'm starting with you, sir.
Thank you, Shinjini. Frankly, I think this is a very important book because it maps out an aspect of India to which we don't pay enough attention to, and does so with a systemic degree of research, of curiosity, of conversations, of factual verification. And there is a picture that emerges in the book, often not in the headlines of the media or otherwise, of a new class of women entrepreneurs emerging, wanting to do more than being just at home, not wanting to be just an accessory of a family, but of contributing on their own. And therefore this book is an inspiration and should be read by all Indians, by men, and of course by women. And not only in India, but generally to understand how countries begin to change. Having said that, Shinjini, you derive certain conclusions from this book about change. To what extent is that change sufficient given the opportunity? A lot has changed in India over the last 30, 40 years, and especially post-liberalization. Is what you map in keeping with the potential of what could have changed? And if not, what are the obstacles that you thought women still face? And does your book sufficiently take into account those who have the same aspirations but don't have the means? You ask the question, kya zarurat hai? And people can be asked, women can be asked, bhai kaise karogi? If you come from a background where you have the wherewithal to take a loan or have money in the house, you can do it. But you know what getting a loan from a bank is for a woman who comes from a lower strata? Are there opportunities for them? I'm shooting a barrage of questions because I want to probe you further.
Sure. And I don't think Sir, actually, we started to actually address this problem from the other side. Because I've been a banker all my life. Chetna here has worked in that field to address that issue. We always thought that if we could somehow fix the supply side, if we could have better mechanisms for transmission of capital or building of wealth, we would be able to change this scenario, okay? I think broadly the conclusion is, and I'll get Chetna to weigh in on this, broadly the conclusion is that those who want to do it are able to do it. It is not so bad still to access capital or to be able to grow big. Barriers are still very much there, and the systemic barriers on capital are the ones where we need actually systemic solutions. Because if you are talking about, so I'll give you a simple example. Most women entrepreneurs I met go through a lot of volatility in their careers. So they don't have smooth trajectories of how they grow their businesses. So it's not a quarter-on-quarter growth or year-on-year growth. It is a lot more, I took a break and then I came back and I took a break and then I came back. And yet, there is a Mrs. Bector who takes all those breaks and yet goes IPO. So the women that I meet, the reason I talk to them about their stories is because that's what you see, that when they want to do it, they are able to find that access. But when they want to do it, when they get the opportunity to do it. And so, it's a complicated answer, but has it changed enough? The answer is it has not changed enough. The question is there a significant opportunity to use this change for making a better economy and better society? The answer is yes, there is. Chetna, would you like to weigh in on that?
Sure. I mean, when we say that answer is yes, that answer comes from women themselves. Like as you mentioned, Shinjini, that you hate word like empowering women. I mean, those who are already empowered or those who have so much of power, but we fail to recognize that power. Before going into it, I like pictures and I like to show those women. So when we met Shinjini and you were thinking like you are going to write a book, I thought, Shinjini, CEO Paytm, we met first time when we were talking about street vendors, right? So I thought maybe Shinjini is writing book on them. So somebody like this who is already powered, but she wants to, world should know her. But when I read the book, it was so interesting and I would like to know some things. Number one question is that, there is a phrase, money goes where money is. पैसा वहाँ जाता है जहाँ पैसा होता है.
Spoken like a true Gujarati.
Yes, exactly. Shinjini ki kitab mein, when I was reading, the one big stereotypes, which one is the barrier which women broke and said, no, money goes where money is not. And Shinjini, you could capture that and you broke the another stereotype, which I would say, that when money is hands of men, it is men's money. जब पैसा मर्दों के पास रहता है, तो वो मर्दों का पैसा है. But when money is in hands of women, it is family's money. That stereotype, I think, Shinjini, I saw in the book, and so many women, जो family का पैसा था, वो उनका हो गया. जैसे lift वाली madam. So I think, why don't you say that? That was so interesting.
Yeah, basically, sir, what I found is that once they travel on the path, then after a certain point, there is not a significant difference between how they behave towards capitalism or capital or business building compared to their male counterparts. But in the beginning, there are many, many variations. So if we want to really focus on the issue, we will have to actually dig deeper into that. Some of those things are in the book, but I agree with you. It's not a complete answer because it cannot be at this, at this level. But yes, it's the beginning of a conversation which continues to require, more investigation and more understanding. Did you have any other question?
No, I thought Milee would want to say something.
Well, it's just wonderful listening to all of you. I wish we had more time because there are so many wonderful stories in the book and we have a lot of women in the audience as well. But I just wanted to say that I am proud to publish the book because for two reasons. One is a little selfish. I definitely wanted to read more about, the stories and what women are doing across India. and Shinjini has covered, across the India, from all corners of the country. So there are stories from Raipur, Patna, Goa, and other places. And I think it does give some kind of, to sound, it's a stereotype, but, it is, I think, inspirational in several ways, because in my own life and in my own network, I've seen women who've dropped out of the workforce for various reasons. And like in your book, there's so many examples of women coming back and doing something. To kuch to kar rahi hai. And I think that is very important. Kuch to karna hai. So whenever, in whatever form, whatever you can and whatever your passion is, I think women should try and follow that and keep on dreaming irrespective of the age and the stage that they are in their lives, because they are a very big contributor to the economy, not only their family. So I think that was my selfish reason, and I'm very proud to publish Busy Women. We are all busy women here on the panel, and I'm sure there too, but we do contribute to our society in a big way.
Sir, I wanted to ask you a question, unless you have a question.
No, please ask.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, when you first heard of the book, or when I spoke to you about the book, did you, when you think of a woman entrepreneur, what is the image in your mind? And the other question I want to ask you is that with this greater urbanization, what is your view? Because you have written so many books on this subject of India and building of the middle class, and some of those themes are also here. What do you think is the importance of culture?
No, what came to my mind was that, has the risk-taking capacity of women increased? Because today I meet corporate leaders right at the top, and they say that the finance minister or Piyush Goyal asks us, why are you not, where is your risk appetite gone? And they say that risk appetite doesn't exist because we are afraid that if we do invest tomorrow, we'll be taking a loan from a bank, and in the current system, failure is equal to fraud. If you don't succeed, you are open to all kinds of questions, or for if any reason you annoy the establishment. Now this is when people have a lot of money, lot of inherited wealth, have been setting up industries, there is a certain reticence and hesitation at that level. So if women without this backing, and one of the things is, of course, you've taken relatively, let us say, well-to-do women, by and large. But if women without this strength are willing to take a risk, is that a generalized inference universally true, or is it a perception you've gained because you say 3 years, 30 cities, 300 women? Is the sampling too little?
It's very interesting. I spoke to a professor who does research on this, and he said, don't meet more than 30 because the stories will start repeating themselves. And I really found that even though I met 300 women, the book has about 90 or so stories, because actually you start to see the repetition of the pattern. And then in terms of the patterns, you recognize that to the answer at the grassroots level, where the businesses are very small, it is that, yes, their risk capacity is tied to their asset ownership, which is not there. So then they, like Chetna says, that their courage is their capital. But in the families where there is greater amount of inheritance, there greater amount of access to capital, access to space. Think about how much real estate is owned by families in these smaller towns, which were lying abandoned sometimes, and now they are being converted into Airbnbs and cafes and kitchens and cloud kitchens.
One last question, because I think we are running out of time. In how many cases did you find men, husbands, fathers, and others encouraging women?
Can I add one line of question? In the book, I read very interesting line that she had created empire of courage, and I thought in my mind that if I read a book about men entrepreneurs or all corporate, the line may be, he had created empire of capital. What was the reason for you to write, she had created empire of courage?
Because many times women don't have the capital, so they have to hack together some way to build. So sometimes and there are many examples of this. This particular one comes from the story of a woman who was a destitute, and she now runs a large group of women's cooperatives, which does saving of almost 72 crore a day. And so, you meet that type of people and you realize that it's only their courage that helps them to build that capital, because the risk appetite is inherently linked to equity, right? If you don't have equity, you don't have debt, you don't have leverage, you don't move forward. That's a simple commercial logic. But to get that equity, sometimes it's money. Sometimes it can be family support. To answer your question, are men encouraging? Yes, I met a family in Jaipur where the patriarch, the uncle-in-law, has 6 daughters-in-law who are running 6 different verticals of their business across the country. And I was very intrigued, so I went and met him. There are men in the book. There are not just all women. So he was one of the men that I went to meet. And I asked him, okay, I'm very impressed. I said, I'm very impressed that 6 of your daughters-in-law are running these large business verticals. They're all MBAs from different universities. And so he said, I said, आप कैसे करते हैं? And he said, इसमें क्या है? लड़कियां हैं, पढ़ी लिखी हैं, कर सकती हैं, कर रही हैं. He just summarized it so simply. And he's a Marwari man. And you realize that them looking at this talent as capital is also part of the growth story. And that really is very heartening. Sorry, Pavan has to go.
So
you have to go, right?
The last question you didn't answer, but never, since I'm the only male specimen here, I wanted to know how much are men helping women?
I told you, the father-in-law.
But this is one story. What's your generalized impression?
No, I do.
ऐसे आदर्श father-in-law सब जगह
You
थोड़ी ना-
helped us launch the book.
सर,
So
आप
I
गाँव
think
में
that's
जाइए
also
बिहार में.
something.
सर, एक बात बताती हूँ. बिहार में आप गाँव में जाइए, तो all the women are now getting all the jobs, right? Teacher, आया, आंगनवाड़ी worker, वन मित्र, they're mostly women. सबके हस्बैंड सुबह मोटरसाइकिल पे लेके जाते हैं, स्कूल में छोड़ते हैं, दोपहर में स्कूल से लेके आते हैं, बच्चे को लेके आते हैं. It has changed the way men and women run their families. So in families where there is need for that woman to bring cash into the house, gender relations are changing really fast.
चलिए बिहार पे तो कभी और डिस्कशन भी कर सकते हैं. कितनी जीविका दीदीज को लोन मिला जो उन्होंने इंटरेस्ट पे लगा दिया और एक बिजनेस नहीं लगी. But खैर, congratulations Shinjini for this remarkable book. I think all Indians should proudly read it for the quiet revolution that seems to be unfolding beneath our gaze and without our knowledge. And that needs to be mapped. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I need champions for the book, and you being a champion is a big deal. You being a champion, you being the champion. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Please buy the book, and please share the book with others. Books cost less than a cake, and they have no calories. Please.